Hey, from BugeyeGuy.com, and look at it outside our shop. What a mess. We got like 8 inches of wet snow, and in here in the shop what we've got is Hazel, this white bug-eye up on the lift, for a very special mission, and I wanted to share this with you. It's an exciting week for us in spite of the weather, because the new owner of Hazel, whose name is Alan, will be flying in on Monday. Today's Wednesday, and he's going to drive this car down to Georgia. So we've got about 3 days roughly to get it ready for a trip. Now the car was really a nice car, and I drove it yesterday before the storm, and it drove very well, and I'm sure he would have been able to drive it all the way to Georgia. But now we put on a different hat, take on a different role. As his crew chiefs, we now need to make this car as reliable as possible. So we shift gears and shift into the maximum prevention mode and rip apart everything that we feel is suspect. And for example, these rear wheel cylinders, they tend to leak, they get corroded, the rear brakes stop working, or worse, the oil leaks out from the axle seals, gets on the brake shoes, trashes the rear brakes. You end up with 3 or maybe 2 brakes if both rears are out of the circuit. The front wheel cylinders as well, we noticed they were really crusty. One of them was seized, so we changed them all, put in new brake shoes, and now Alan will have great new brakes, basically. And so that's one of the reliability things we wanted to address right away. And then there's a whole bunch of parts here on the table that will basically make a mad dash to throw into this car to make sure that, again, Alan's journey is as stress-free as possible. And so we've got, of course, a new belt and new filters, synthetic oil for this Datsun 5-speed transmission. We've got new jets for the carburetors, because that's constantly an issue with ethanol. These needles and seats sometimes get stuck. We've got new felt bushings for the steering column, a new heater valve, new lower radiator hose because his is a little swollen. I'm sure it's fine, but again, with a 1,000-mile trip, we'll want to put that in to take one more thing of possible weakness off the list. A new heater hose, bump stops for the front suspension, radius arm bushings. There are 4 of these that we'll press. We're running away. We'll press these into the rear radius arms, and that will firm up the rear suspension. A new check strap, one of his is torn, a battery hold down. And then there's, on this list here, we've got another, oh boy, at least, well, here's the list. I can kind of enlarge it a little for you. I don't know if you can see that, but there's at least 35 things that we know from experience. We're going to balance the wheels. We're going to inspect the slave cylinder, check the differential fluid, check the transmission fluid, grease the front end, and on and on and on. The shock bolts, we'll make sure those are tight. That's a chronic problem that we just know from experience. We're going to change, well, we'll adjust the engine valves, and we'll clean the regulator points and the fuse box connections, etc., etc., new wiper blades and Rain-X. And basically, what we're doing is taking on the reliability side at our highest level so that Alan has a great journey on this unlikely February voyage from Connecticut to Georgia. And we'll keep you along for the ride and keep you included as we get the car together here at BugeyeGuy.com.